Welcome to the big one, guys. It is the Smart Gamble here on the final week of the football season.
Yeah, I'm already got my tears going for the last football weekend of the year.
Oh, so sad.
always bittersweet when we reach this
Yeah,
part of the season. It's the big one. It's the Super Bowl. Everyone loves it. There's the big parties. Everyone's watching together and all that. We have this commercials, the halftime show, but it also means no more football for like 6-7 months.
for way too long, way too long.
So we're gonna blow it out. This is the last episode of the season then as well. So we got a lot in store here for the Super Bowl. We're gonna make our picks, of course, so stay tuned for that. But we're gonna have prop bets. We're gonna break down the whole game and all that. But before we get to the big game, like there is other things going on in the football world besides the Super Bowl. Last week, guys, we had the Pro Bowl. Did anyone watch it? Did either of you guys watch it?
Nope.
I did not. Actually, I caught some highlights again, maybe low lights because there's no
Yeah.
hitting in that game. I personally don't even know why they even go to that game, but it's crazy.
I've been like trying to fight this Pro Bowl thing for years now. And like trying to bring it down. I actually, because yeah, like you, CJ, I only watched some lowlights. There was no highlights to watch. They were playing two-hand touch.
Exactly.
Right.
Like we did joke like there's no hitting. There were plays stopped because the guy went like this on the guy with the ball. So I think
mean,
that might be the last one.
Yeah, Deion Sanders came out and said, "Lord help me,"
What is
because of
the
the
point?
fact that there's just no competitiveness. They're not playing with the heart or anything. You know,
There's
it's
no point. There's
Yeah.
zero point to having that game.
they don't want to get hurt. That's
They
the
don't
whole
want to get
thing.
hurt. That's exactly right, Lily. They
Which
don't
I
wanna get hurt.
get. Like I get it. I'm done with that thing.
I know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
MVP was Justin Herbert. Offensive MVP was Justin Herbert, and then defensive was Max Crosby from your
Yes.
Vegas
From
Raiders.
my Vegas Raiders, yeah.
Yep.
It's funny. I actually saw a little bit of the skills competition. I think on Friday or Saturday, whatever
Yeah.
day it was. People throwing balls through
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So that was a little fun because you can see the guys kind of the camaraderie is there, but the game itself is just horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd rather them do something like that and make that the big attraction than have this actual pro. I'd rather see them get the teams together and do trivia or something than watch this Pro Bowl. Like, it's so if you want to honor the players and who makes it, fine, but don't play the game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that's happened this week, we had the NFL honors the other night. So
Yep.
we found out who won the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. I feel like, because we've been predicting that, giving our predictions and whatnot for a while now, I feel like we nailed a lot of those and not too many surprises though, right?
Yeah, I would say zero surprises. I think the only one that may have been in doubt a little bit was the Coach of the Year.
Right.
I was on Mike Vrabel's bandwagon all
You
year.
were.
I
Yep.
think he did more with less. You could have made a argument for LaFleur a little bit with Green Bay with Zach Taylor of the Bengals, but I think they got it right. I think Vrabel was the guy who did the most with the least.
100% agree. Rodgers wins MVP. I think like we all thought that is his
Oh, yeah.
fourth MVP. Second,
Wow.
tied for second most of all time now with 4 MVPs. That's is it just me or does sometimes Rodgers not get the credit maybe because he has only got that one Super Bowl of like this dude really is one of the better quarterbacks we've ever seen. It's just he doesn't quite have the playoff accolades.
Yeah, I would agree. I think as far as overall talent, he might be one of the best guys I've ever seen. And but tell you one thing, I mean, we have a topic later on about Matt Stafford. I think there is something to be said about how we judge quarterbacks
Yeah.
relative to the amount of Super Bowls they win.
Yep.
Now, if this guy has won 3 or 4 Super Bowls, and we talking about him as one of the greatest of all time, he's got one. And a lot of guys, a lot of bums have one.
Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer.
Exactly. So, but apart from that, I mean, again, his skills second to none in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. The only other one that I actually forgot about this. They did moment of the year. I forgot Justin Tucker broke the field goal record.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right. Yeah.
That 66-yarder to beat the Lions. I think that's why it's like it was a game-winning field goal to beat the Lions.
He is amazing. That dude can kick it, no doubt
Yeah.
about it.
Speaking
Unbelievable.
of guys that are up there for best of all time, I think Tucker's up there for best of all time kickers.
Yep.
Maybe making a Hall of Fame run for kickers, because that was also announced as well, the Hall of Fame class. I don't know if you guys saw that as well. Very nondescript class.
Yeah, I think nondescript might be the nice way of putting it. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
kind
tried to be
boring.
gentle there.
of yes. Yeah, actually,
Um,
I think Richard Seymour. I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
know if he's the Hall of Famer. I honestly don't know if I would vote for him
I
in
don't.
the Hall of Fame.
He's been up there for a few years now, and every time we back when I was doing a radio show, we would give our classes and whatnot, and no, I don't think so. I don't think he's deserving, but the NFL Hall of Fame, I think it's so much different when you look at like the NFL Hall of Fame versus the MLB Hall of Fame, where they're so stingy. Where it's the
Yes.
NFL, it's like the max amount of players is getting in every year. Who's going to get in this year? There wasn't a ton of other players, and sure, take your time in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, my favorite NFL honor was, of course, Comeback Player of the Year,
Yeah,
Joe Cool.
Joe Cool.
Burrow.
100%. Like, I think he got towards ACL last year, and it wasn't like first game of the season. It was what, middle of the season, week 9 or something like that.
Yes.
So that actually is a recovery that I know ACL injuries have become like, you're back next year. Like, even if you injure in the playoffs, like we see Adrian Peterson, he came back it was like 3 months later, he was ready to go. But you forget Burrow tore his ACL and then is in a Super Bowl now.
Yeah, we'll get to a lot of Joe Burrow talk, I'm sure, later in the show. But I think America has fallen in love with this guy. He is America's
Absolutely.
darling. So I mean, he
Absolutely.
deserves whatever it comes to him. He deserves it, in my mind.
100%.
And let me tell you something that my dad brought up to me, which is totally mind blowing.
Former guest.
Back in '69, Joe Namath was
Yep.
the underdog.
Yes.
He was Joe Cool.
Yep.
And we're kind of in the same kind of situation because Joe Burrow's the underdog and the Rams are favored, of course. And what happened? Namath won. So I'm hoping the same thing happens. I hope history repeats itself.
Can Burrow come out and guarantee a win?
I don't think so.
That would
I
be
don't
the
know.
thing the next thing to follow is the Joe
Because
Burrow
doesn't he-
guaranteeing.
And he
Right.
comes out wearing a fur jacket and guarantees.
Oh my God.
I'm putting all my money on him. Like,
Looking like a pimp.
I wouldn't put it past him though. Like, that's the thing.
No.
That
would be cool.
that would definitely be. I don't know if the Baltimore Colts are walking through that door tomorrow. But we'll we'll definitely get into some more Joe Burrow talk in a second here. But talking about other things that are going on in the NFL, of course, we brought up last week the Brian Flores lawsuit, and Goodell, of course, had to come out and address this, and he kind of took a lot of the blame for this. Are you surprised by that? Do you think? I mean, that's kind of his job to take the blame, but I mean, who is to blame for this?
Well, the question is really whether or not Goodell is to blame for it. And believe it or not, I don't think it is his fault. I think this is really more of an owner's thing. That has been a good old boys network for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And my thing is, athletes really are the biggest and most valuable assets of any sport. And I think that sometimes athletes will put pressure on their teams, sign this guy, give me this amount of money and so forth. I have not seen an athlete put pressure on a team to say, you know something, I want you to hire this guy, or I want you to take more attention to diversity on our coaching staff. I have not seen that yet. Everything else, they've done it. I think the athletes are the ones who need to do more in this than people like Goodell or even the owners.
Right. That's you need the players. They have probably the strongest voice, the voice that would make the most impact. And
can you imagine? Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers right now? Right now, they're struggling with whether or not they want to keep him or whether he wants to go. Can you imagine if he were to say, "Hey, you know something? I want you to hire person X, and I'll stay here." You don't think the Green Bay Packers will be jumping through hoops to do that?
Right. That
I,
is.
I think it's- I think it's the athletes. I
Well,
think
you
they
know
have to
what?
step forward.
I think
I agree
we've
with you.
seen something similar already in the NBA recently with the female coaches, and you had players come out in the NBA and be like, no, like they absolutely can coach, and they're better than some of the guy coaches we've ever had. So
Yeah.
like, and the NBA, I mean, the NBA players are never afraid of being vocal. And yeah, I don't know what it is sometimes the NFL where the players don't always. I don't know if it's because there's 53 of them on a team, if it's because they wear helmets and their faces aren't as well known as this like NBA players. But I think I didn't think about that. I think you nailed it right on the head there, CJ. I think it would take the players, because you're 100% right. It's the owners and Goodell. I mean, it's literally guy gets paid $40 million plus a year to take the blame off the owners. That's his literal job. So that's what he's doing there. Yeah.
Yeah, and to his point, I think that he was a big person to step up and take that blame and be right in the firing line, because obviously he knows there's a problem. I don't think he can do a whole lot about it because he's not actually doing the hiring for these coaches. It's the owners.
And it's not going to be, they've got the Rooney Rule in place, and sure they can try and fix that or tweak that or whatever they do, but we've already seen that Rooney Rule has been in place for decades now, and
Right.
there's going to be ways to circumvent it, and if they try and tweak it, they'll find another loophole, just like how this blew up. So
Absolutely.
it's not going to take a rule change by the league. It's going to take a movement, and I think you're right. That probably does start with the players.
Right.
Fully
That
agreed.
that's going to be maybe they're waiting for the Super Bowl to end and they don't want to kind of take the shine off the players that are still playing right now. But this will definitely be a storyline that continues through the offseason. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But speaking of those coach hires, we are now done. All the teams have a coach now. And man, did these last few teams really hire some winners, guys? I
Crazy.
mean,
Well, I mean,
Lovie
the Texans
Smith?
hired Lovie Smith, right? He hasn't been around in years. He
Yeah.
was a thriving coach with the Bears.
now
but
is a minority hire. Let's not sweep that under the rug. That is a minority hire. And good
right,
for that.
but on the other side of the coin, did they hire him to be the scapegoat? That's some speculation that some people are talking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. And again, I mean, the whole Lovie Smith thing is a head scratcher for me. I mean, he's 63 years old, so he isn't the future.
Nope.
He hasn't had success in the NFL since 05, I believe it was, when he went to the Super Bowl against the Colts. So
Right.
I'm not quite sure exactly why they hired him. Well, I guess I kind of do. I think I think the Houston job right now is toxic. I don't think
Oh my
anybody
God.
wants to go there. I mean, the Deshaun Watson thing is still unsettled. They have a terrible team. And so anybody who gets hired in this job
Ownership
right now,
issues.
ownership issues, I think that this is just something where a year or two and Smith is going to be going and they'll try to eventually find a guy who's going to lead this team down the road. But right now, this is a job that nobody wants.
Yeah, if you're a Texans fan, that's just there's zero light at the end of that tunnel right now. You cannot see it for 5 years from now.
Right. And then they announced like their top 3 picks, and Lovey certainly wasn't one of them,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
And then
kind of gives more evidence to the fact that maybe they are going to say, oh, well, we lost because of Lovey,
yeah.
make him the scapegoat.
Well,
We lost the season because-
going back to the lawsuit is one of these things was, claims of ownership trying to pay these coaches to lose in order to get draft picks and whatnot. And I mean, yeah, this is basically the Texans saying, we're not going to try to be good for the next few years. I mean,
Right.
not that doesn't matter what coach they hired, they weren't gonna be, but this is another red flag.
But as the defensive coordinator, he did do more than people think with the defense for Houston.
I will say Texans were better than I thought they were this year. Not saying much. They started better than I thought they'd be. But yeah, it's I don't really know what's going on there, and I don't know what's going on with the Saints hiring Dennis Allen again, an internal promotion there. I don't know if I love that one either.
I don't love it either. I mean, I think the only reason you can give for this being a decent hire is that he's been there since like 2015, I believe, and he's been a
Yeah.
D coordinator. He was a head coach at one point with the Raiders, had terrible success there. So, but again, I think this might be more of a continuity thing. The players seem to like him. The defense is the strongest part of that team, so
It
I
is.
can see how that could be something where you might want to keep a guy around who's been a big part of that success of the defense. But again, I don't see this guy as the future of this team. I think he's just a guy he'll be there for a little bit, and we'll see what happens there.
I think you're on there with the continuity because this is one of those, like, they didn't fire Sean Payton. He just was like, I'm out of here, guys. So that I don't know if that took ownership by surprise, management by surprise, and they go, let's keep everything as is right now. Let's not try and shake it up. If you're not planning on shaking it up, why shake it up? So I guess continuity would be the move there, and he does have head coaching experience before. So,
by the way, who plays quarterback next year for that team? That's the big question in my mind.
is
Far
it
more than a coach.
Someone on that
Who
team?
is the quarterback?
I don't know. I don't know if it's someone that's currently on that team. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Taysom Hill is a nice guy to have as a backup. He's exciting. He's a physical specimen.
yeah,
I don't know if he's a quarterback by
he's not
by
your
trade.
17 game starter.
Exactly. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do with the quarterback there.
Right, and I know you brought up Jameis as a fill-in for other spots around the league. I love Jameis. I just don't know if I
Yeah.
love him. He's my quarterback. And I don't know if the Saints feel that way either. But let's start shifting over to the Super Bowl, guys, and keeping with what's going on previously. Let's talk about
Yeah.
how we got here. Right?
Yeah, let's do a recap of the playoffs too.
Mhm.
I mean, in the wild card round, let's do both teams, Cincinnati and the
Right.
Rams. In the wild card round, Cincinnati beat Vegas 26-19.
Yeah, very first game of the playoffs, very close one.
Right.
Probably the only entertaining game of that weekend.
I was in a sports bar at the M Casino watching that game with some beers and some apps watching
Right.
that game. That was a pretty fun time.
Yes, we spoke that day.
But
For the divisional round, Cincinnati beat the Titans 19-16, even with Joe Burrow having 9 sacks. That was insane.
That wasn't for the underdog of all to beat the number 1 seed. There was quite the feat there.
It really
that
was.
was a crazy game too. There was all kinds of crazy hops and bounces and
Mhm.
the turnovers and so forth.
I would say the
I
turnover.
actually thought that Tennessee kind of underachieved in that game. I thought they were the better team that day, but Joe
Absolutely.
Burrow
Yep.
pulled them through. So
Yeah,
Yep.
that was one
credit.
of those ones. If the Bengals 2 weeks ago in the championship game fell flat and like almost showed they didn't deserve to be there, so you could be like, oh, the Titans lost that game. Bengals didn't win that one.
mm,
Bengals are in the Super Bowl though now, so it's like you can't really say that.
there's no
And then-
excuses.
Then they won the AFC Championship against Kansas City,
Bingo.
27-24.
And I'm glad we're doing this.
That was
I'm
quite a
because that
feat.
just kind of popped in my mind. It's like they had that close game against the Raiders, where it was it was first game of playoffs, all eyes on them. Not a ton of playoff experience for the Cincinnati team as a whole. Found their way through it. Then they play this nitty gritty, turnover laden kind of weird game, playing to kind of like the strengths of the Titans, playing like a run game, defense game. And then they adjusted to playing this high offensive octane game against the Chiefs. They've done it all on this
They
trip to
have.
the Super Bowl.
And it's funny with that Chiefs game, they were down, was it 21-3, I believe? It was
19 points.
19 points. And the very last few plays that the Chiefs had toward the first half, they could have easily got a field goal. They were actually going for a touchdown. They got nothing. And I kind of
Right.
wonder if anything else had happened, if they got a field goal or a touchdown by the Chiefs, how does that game change? I think that the Bengals lose.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs score anything on that drive, they lose.
100%.
Right. And then let's look at the Rams. Wild card, they killed the Cardinals 34-11. That
Oh,
was
I want to
insane.
talk about that game.
That was like 3 hours of my time that I would never get back.
Yeah,
So
probably the worst game of these playoffs.
Right. And then the divisional round, they beat the Bucks 30-27. Quite a
Which-
feat.
I think that was Stafford's, like, because there was still a lot of questions about Stafford coming
Right.
into these playoffs, and that was knocking off the GOAT and make it into the NFC Championship game was definitely like I'm here, guys. That was a prove
Yeah.
it game.
And then the NFC Championship, they beat the 49ers 20-17.
Yeah. That game is funny. That game, I think they probably had more San Francisco 49er fans in the
Right.
crowd in LA
Right.
than
Right.
LA Rams fans.
Right.
And
Yeah.
again, I won't say that the Niners outplayed the Rams. I think both teams kind of played kind of even, but that was one of those heart-wrenching interceptions or overthrows by Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G showed why he is going to get replaced by
Yeah.
Trey Lance next year in that game.
Yeah, I not to take anything away from the Rams' credit there, but because I mean they did go out and beat the Bucks, and that was a solid win. But yeah, they had a Cardinals team that was just not ready to play in the playoffs in that wild card round, and yeah, they should have this should have been the 49ers that we're talking about right now. But hey, that's football for you. The ball is odd shaped and bounces in ways that you can't predict, and that's how you end up here. And doesn't mean you can't win it, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need stuff like that to happen in football, and you get to the places you shouldn't be, and you still end up winning games. So
Yep. CJ, I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Uh-oh.
Who do you think are the top 3 quarterbacks with the most points per game?
Points per game.
like NFL, like the whole NFL.
Whole NFL. Regular season.
Well, it's funny. I actually did do some research on the amount of points per game being scored by both the Bengals and the Rams. I think they both average exactly 27.1 points per
They're up
game.
there.
I'm guessing those two are probably in there. Burrow
They
and
are. They're top 10. They're actually top 10.
Okay.
Stafford with 24.3 points per game.
Mhm.
Burrow is number 8. Burrow's number 9 with 23.9 points per game.
Okay.
So number 1 is Josh Allen with 27.9.
Okay.
Brady's next with 27.1. And Justin Herbert is third with 26.8.
Herbert, Mister, we didn't make the playoffs because we called a timeout. Interesting.
Right. And Mahomes was
I was going to
fourth
say
with
Mahomes has to be up there.
25.6, and Aaron Rodgers was fifth with 25.5.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know what? Mahomes probably down there because the Chiefs started off so slow this year.
Terrible
Yeah.
first half of the season for the Chiefs,
Yeah.
but they found a way later on.
Yeah,
They did.
still end up in the AFC Championship game for the third straight year. So,
Mm.
but Josh Allen, number 1, I think.
Yep.
They got to figure out the playoffs though.
Yeah, he's
That's-
probably my favorite quarterback in the league right now. I love Josh Allen. He's got a big arm. He's got a great personality. But like to your point, they've got to figure out a way to get to that next level. The Bills, 'Cause
Right.
I think they're there. They think
They
they're
are.
ready to take that next step. But
Well,
they've got to figure out a way to get to the next level.
well, let's start shifting over to the Super Bowl, guys. And
Yep.
I'm going to shift the order here just to segue, because this is the second time that something like that has come up now. We were going to talk about the pressure on Stafford to win this
Mhm.
Super Bowl because of what you brought up, CJ, already, is how are QBs measured in this league? It's not by how many yards you throw, how many touchdowns you throw, how many MVPs you win. It's only measured by one thing, and it's how many rings you got.
Right.
And you bring up, Josh Allen. This dude's been killing it for the last 2 years in this league. He's maybe one of the best quarterbacks stat wise. But like, what was the first thing I said? Guy's got won a Super Bowl though.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Stafford, this dude when he was in Detroit was throwing 5,000 yards when he had Calvin Johnson left and right. He'd win 6 or 7 games though. Doesn't matter. Phillip Rivers, is he going to go into the Hall of Fame? Big Ben, lock, won 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning, lock, won 2 Super Bowls. Phillip Rivers got better stats than some of those guys. They
Yeah,
won a
it's
Super
funny.
Bowl.
I think this might be the most interesting topic we're going to broach in this broadcast, and I'm looking forward to it. Matt Stafford, you mentioned him a lot, so let's talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
Great numbers. He's got a great arm. It's over a great 12-year career in Detroit. Again, from a standpoint of yards, he didn't win a playoff game until this year. I think Matt Stafford could easily go from a guy who may not even be considered for the Hall of Fame if he doesn't win a ring to a guy who is a slam dunk Hall of Famer if he wins this year. So think
Right.
think about that. I mean, there's a big difference between this one game. If he wins it, he is in the Hall of Fame. If he doesn't, he's like a Philip Rivers, who you just don't know, is he a
Right.
Hall of Famer or not, and so forth. And I will put him against a guy, your guy, Eli Manning.
Yep.
He is 113 and 113 in his career regular season.
50-50,
Very
baby.
pedestrian, but he beat the GOAT twice in his career Super Bowl. He is getting into the Hall of Fame,
Oh, he's a lock.
period. But his regular season stats,
They're
no
stink.
way.
He's
No
a
way.
compiler. I mean, his win record, like you mentioned, is 50-50, and he's up there on a lot, like top 10, top 15 on a lot of those yards, or a lot of those stats. But it's because he played so long and never missed a game until freaking Ben McAdoo benched him for Geno Smith. Like,
Gino.
oh, God, don't get me
I mean,
started
let's
on that.
look at some stats of Stafford when he's under pressure. When
Uh-huh.
he's under pressure, he's ranked 12th in passer rating, 75%, and 17th in completion rates, 49.6%, with second most interceptions, which are 7. So that's
So-
when he's under pressure.
So the key is getting pressure him, I guess.
Pressure.
I'm not sure.
Yes,
That's
yes,
every.
and with that triple threat on Cincinnati, Hendrickson with 75 pressures, Hubbard with 55 pressures, and Rita with 25 pressures.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It could happen. They could win.
absolutely.
Cincinnati could win.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I love that you said Stafford is a Hall of Famer if he wins it. I completely agree.
Mhm.
I completely agree.
Yeah, but again, like to your point earlier, I mean, I think those rings are what we overvalue the Super Bowl rings when it comes to the way we evaluate quarterbacks.
Yep.
I personally like to look at a value of a quarterback based on your team's success. So in other words, the fact that he didn't win a ring in Detroit is not bothersome to me. The fact that Detroit was a bad team for most of his career
Yeah.
does resonate some.
Yeah.
And that's why a guy like Philip Rivers, who was in the playoffs here and there, he got his team to the playoffs. I can see putting him in the Hall of Fame
I can.
because but Stafford up until now, I mean, if he's taking Detroit his whole career and he's like an 8-8 guy every year or a 6-10 guy every year as
Yeah.
far as his team record goes, I say no.
Right. I completely agree. That's why there's so much pressure on him going into tomorrow, where there's zero pressure on Joe Burrow.
Yes.
All right, so yeah, let's jump into then, kind of like what Lily was just talking about there is let's talk about like breaking down that Cincinnati defense versus Rams offense, this Rams offense versus that Cincinnati defense. I think you nailed exactly what both of these teams need to do, Lily, already, and it comes down to these O lines versus D lines.
Yeah, I think the Rams' ability to rush the quarterback on obvious passing downs is legendary. That
Yeah.
front seven of the Rams, if
Von
they are
Miller
going to win
and
this
oh
game,
my God.
yeah, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to get into Joe Burrow's face. And so, in order
Yeah.
for the Cincinnati Bengals to kind of offset that, I think they have to run it.
Yeah.
Or if they go up tempo and they kind of tire out that defense, so that pass rush is kind of neutralized, I think that might be another way for the Bengals to actually have a chance here. Otherwise, I think the Rams front seven is going to dominate this game.
They
Yeah.
can't win this game with Burrow getting sacked 9 times again.
Yeah.
But
Let's
let me
put it
tell
down.
you, Stafford against the Bengals is 0-3. And he's
Hmm.
thrown 3 interceptions against them, been sacked 5 times against the Bengals. And get this, he's got a 63% completion rate average, okay? Against the Bengals, he's got only a 51.8% completion rate.
That's interesting.
That is very interesting because, to be honest, like I mean, the Stafford that was playing in those games versus the Bengals was probably on the Lions,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
those Bengals teams probably not very similar to the team we're looking at right now. But those Bengals teams probably weren't that good. I mean, I know the Bengals made the playoffs a few times with Andy Dalton there, but
Yeah.
why would he struggle so much against the Bengals of all teams? Like that's I don't know if he just doesn't like the stripes on the uniforms or something. It confuses him. That's
like that, Norm.
that's an interesting stat line there.
Yeah, it just goes to show you as well. There are a lot of times in the NFL, it's not really necessarily about your overall talent. It's really about matchups. I mean,
Right.
there are certain teams who always hammer other teams,
Yeah.
and they might be mediocre against the rest of the league, but against this one team, they hammer them. So this might be a situation where Stafford just has issues with the Bengals. Who knows?
Well, I guess that's Skyline Chili before every game in Cincinnati and just doesn't work well or something. I don't know.
Skyline Chili.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, if Mike Hilton can hold Cooper Kupp to under 110 yards, I see Cincinnati winning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, both of these teams got so many wide receivers that it's going to be. I mean, I love it because you brought up that Cincinnati's front four, Lily, is not something to scoff at either. It's these teams are so similar. Like even though Stafford and Burrow are completely different aspects of their career. Stafford, like you mentioned, is a longtime veteran in this league with all that time in Detroit. Kind of having a rebirth here in LA, but we've got the grizzled veteran who's been around, hasn't been around the playoffs a lot, but been around versus the new face of the league. But I look at their play styles and they're very similar. They can both kind of like, they're not, I wouldn't say mobile quarterbacks, but they're not afraid to move around and create out of the pocket. They're both like Stafford, the dude throws frisbees sometimes. His arm angle is ridiculous sometimes. And Burrow can do that too. And you look, weapons on the outside, decent running back, front four that can rush the passer. Like they're like the same teams.
Yeah, and I think, Lily, you mentioned the Cooper Kupp effect. I think even if the Bengals can somehow contain Cooper Kupp, I think OBJ might be an X factor in this game because every time I see him run a pattern, he's always open, open. So if they figure out a way to contain Cooper Kupp, you got to deal with OBJ as well. So that's gonna be tough.
OBJ's got to deal with that pressure though.
Exactly.
Speaking of pressure, this is a guy that has that's when you think about him in the playoffs, it's about him dropping the balls. And even though they've won these games, he's had some drops in these Rams games. So I know I sound like such a hater. well aware. But it's
that old Giants hate there.
Yeah, it's right.
Back when OBJ was patrolling this Metropolitan Life Stadium,
right?
New Jersey.
Yeah. I just think back to that Dolphins game when he was with the Giants and he's dropping balls left and right. But he had a drop in the championship game that cost him a drive there. It was on third down. So, yeah. But no, I all things aside, random Giants LBJ hate aside, the dude you can't deny is literally maybe the most talented wide receiver in this league. But for whatever reason, he's the number 2 right now because Cooper Kupp just had the greatest season maybe of any wide receiver ever.
Yeah.
But his talent can't be denied, Beckham. So you can't just like, oh yeah, we'll single cover him and we're good. Like he can absolutely still wreck a game.
Yeah, I think one aspect of this game as well too that we haven't talked about yet is if this game gets to a point where teams have to run the ball. So in other words, if the Bengals feel that to offset that pressure from the pass rush of the Rams, that they have to run it with Joe Mixon.
Yep.
And then the same thing for the Rams. Rams, if they feel they need to run it, which team can do a better job of running? And I say overwhelmingly it's the Bengals.
I do as well. I think Cam Akers coming back for this playoff run for the Rams has been a big boost.
Right.
But Joe Mixon is sneakily like a top 5 running back in this league. And I think that O-line, I mean, the first part of the season for the Bengals when they were still doing pretty well was on Joe Mixon's back. Like before, Burrow's definitely come into his own and that connection with him and Chase, going back to the LSU days has really come into its own now. But Joe Mixon has definitely carried this team to some wins on his own back.
Absolutely. And I think, again, I don't know if running it more than throwing it by the Bengals is going to win this game. I think Burrow's going to have to win it for him. But when they have to run the ball, those 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 1s, the Bengals have to get those things converted. And I think that's where Joe Mixon is going to be valuable in this game.
And Burrow has to handle the pressure. If he can't handle the pressure from Miller and
And
Donald,
Donald. Yeah.
Yeah.
they're unstoppable. They're just
Mm.
unstoppable. He's
Yeah.
got to be able to handle that pressure.
Well, and that's I like the way you're putting handle that pressure, because it's not like it's gonna be there. Like, they're not gonna be able to go in and it's like, all right, guys, we're just gonna have to just not have them pressure Burrow. Like Joe's gonna have to have a clean pocket. It's like, no, you're just gonna have to deal with that dirty pocket. Like it's gonna
Right.
there's gonna be guys at your feet.
It's
You're gonna have to
inevitable.
Yeah.
So, but you're 100% right, CJ, as well, because Mixon can impact this game, I think, tomorrow. But if he can't win the game, if the
Correct.
Bengals are going to win this game, Burrow's going to have to win this game. Can Mixon put them in short field positions short yardage positions, third and short to get them to those positions? I hope so. But Burrow's going to have to make these plays. Neither of these teams are going to be able to put the game on their running back shoulders.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Cam Akers before too, and they brought him back obviously from injury. They've
Yeah.
given him the ball a lot in the playoffs, but
Yeah.
he hasn't really got a really high, yards per rush thing. So he's gonna have to get a little better. If they're gonna lean on him to run the ball better, he's gonna have to be better. Cam Akers.
It's that, like, I love sometimes when you have a guy that comes off injury. Like I thought we'd see this with Derrick Henry, honestly, with the Titans. When
Yeah.
they come back off injury, like sure they were just injured, but those legs, their body they haven't been getting hit by NFL linebackers for the last 10 weeks. So their body should be fresh. And sometimes you see guys that have fresh legs come in and just destroy teams. Cam Akers, I don't know, because it was a serious injury and it happened. Like he didn't play at all this year.
Right.
So I don't know if that, like, he's still in like the preseason basically. So I don't know if that has something to do with that. Whereas opposed to like if it was Henry, where he got into the season then got hurt. So
Right.
he's still shaking off the rust. I think. I think that has something to do with that. Yeah. You mentioned we didn't bring up the kind of the underappreciated aspect for both these teams being the run game. What about the real unappreciated aspect? Special teams, guys. Which team's special teams do you trust more? And am I crazy for thinking, I think I trust the rookie kicker Evan McPherson the most?
McFearless. He is fearless.
Great.
He's becoming a cult hero in Cincinnati as well.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think with the special teams, I think it might be more of a matter of which special teams doesn't make the big mistake.
Right.
Block punts, block field goals, and so forth. I think the kicking game in general, I think I probably trust both of these guys.
Yeah.
I don't see them being guys who are going to miss 3 field goals or so forth. At least we hope that's not going to happen. But
I'd rather not have the Super Bowl decided by that.
yeah.
No, yeah.
But as long as I guess we'll say that for a prop bet, because that is one of those things. But I mean, we've seen, go ask Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, special teams can impact these games.
Yes, they can.
And the 49ers with that block punt and all that. So that's something I did want to bring up is people don't always think about special teams when it comes to these games, but that is the third aspect of the game.
Absolutely.
And real quick, one last, matchup thing too, coaching. I mean, Zach Taylor came from the very sapling of a coaching tree that Sean McVay has, but these guys know each other.
Yeah, I think the only thing of the coaching thing that I kind of worry about a little bit is clock management, timeout management.
Right.
And McVay is going to call a timeout when he should not call a timeout. He'll probably do it twice in this game. He does it all the time.
Zero timeouts with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
I mean, there's going to be a TV timeout. They're going to come back from commercial, and he's going to have to call timeout because something is going to go wrong every time it happens. It's just the way he is. It's the way he is.
Especially with the TV timeouts in the Super Bowl, they're like 5 minutes long.
Yeah,
still gonna call.
And yeah, he'll find a way to call timeout right after one of those commercials.
Oh man! All right. Well, I brought up prop bets before we jump into those. I think I'm looking forward to those. Those is my favorite part of the Super Bowl. But we are going to be making our picks against the spread and the total and all that. But before we get into that, I just want to throw out there, guys. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. When the line opened, it was at 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then on this very podcast, we mentioned last weekend it had moved down to 3.5.
Yep.
I checked this morning; it's back up to 4.
Oh.
So the money came rushing in on the Bengals. Drop that down point line down a point, and everyone went. What do you think that's attributed to? It's not like the players have changed. There weren't any injuries. What's going on with the line movement?
Well, I've been listening to some of the folks out here in Vegas,
I was gonna
some of
say.
the folks in the casinos, and apparently, even still right now, most of the money is coming in on the Bengals, believe it or not. And so I think some of these shifts in lines are really, again, when it came down to 3.5, I think it was a result of more money coming in the Bengals. They're trying to get people to bet on the Rams. So that's because see, ultimately in Vegas, they want to have half the money bet on
Yep.
each team, so
Yep.
they don't take a bath if one of those teams wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like the Bengals are the popular choice. I'm not quite sure if it's justified, but the Bengals are getting a lot of action, a lot of attention around America right now.
Which is funny. I know we talked about which team is America going to be rooting for. I think that's what sometimes the casual bettor that pops in for the Super Bowl sometimes doesn't always think about is, oh, I want the Bengals to win, so I'm going to bet on them. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's the best way to bet.
yeah.
Best way
Bet
to
with your
bet is
head,
to
not
listen
with
to
your
Lou.
heart. With your head, not with your heart, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like if I was betting with my head, I would definitely bet on the Rams. If I was betting with my heart, I'd definitely bet on the Bengals.
Right. So the betting advice, listen to Lily, because she's going to have the right pick. As we've seen this entire season, which is she's like 80% or something crazy on the show. So
Yeah, but I think the other thing too is again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I think there is a Joe Burrow effect on these bettors. Again, whether or not they have this, knowledge or reasons to bet the Bengals that they would actually win the game or
Right.
cover the spread. I think Joe Burrow is pulling people over to the side of the Bengals because he's Joe Burrow. And
Right.
that's a big piece of why people are betting on the Bengals.
a lot of people probably won on LSU in that national championship. I'm one of them. So
Yep.
I mean, hey, it's worked one time. Let's go back to the well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's speak about winning some money and making some bets before we get to those against the spread and total bets. Prop bets, everyone's
Yes.
favorite during the Super Bowl. I know CJ, you gave us a nice long list to choose from here, and I like a lot of them. So
Me
I guess
too.
let's start running it down and start with who scores first.
I like the Rams to start fast, playing at home. The energy is going to be on their side. I think the Rams score first in this game.
I think so too. I think it's going to be just like the Kansas City Bengals game, where they come back. But Kansas City was up 21-3.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it's going to be the same kind of game.
I'm in agreement. I think the Rams, you hit it. They're playing in the home stadium too. I think that's got something to do with it.
Yeah.
Rams probably start out quicker. Also, a little bit more playoff experience. They were in the Super Bowl a few years ago. Not obviously Stafford himself wasn't, but you do have a couple guys on this team that have been in the playoffs more often than the Bengals and in the Super Bowl. Well, all right. So we're all in agreement. The Rams are scoring first then.
And I
Are they
believe they're going to
leading
win the
at the
coin
half?
toss. I believe
was
they're
that,
going to win
Lily?
the coin. I think they're going to win the coin toss too.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Who's leading at the half then?
I think for a very similar reason, I think LA will probably start fast and they'll probably be up by a field goal or by 4 or something at halftime.
Yep.
You're in agreement too, Lily.
Yes.
Rams. All right. So all three of us agree Rams are leading at the half, but I think we all agree it's not by much.
Correct.
I almost thought about throwing a curveball here and saying neither, and it's a tie at the half, but I was
Okay.
I go with the
Well,
Rams as well.
There
That
are
would
very
be
good
awesome.
odds. Very good
That
odds
would
out
be
here in
awesome.
Vegas if you choose the tie at halftime. So
That's the thing that we got to mention is you got to look when it comes to prop bets. Look at the odds too. You get some big payouts on some things that all right, and you know what? Let's. We're coming up to some of those here right now.
Yes.
So like, first turnover. Will there be one? So is there going to be a turnover, and if so, what is it?
this is probably the first interesting prop on this list here.
Right.
Because I can very easily see Matt Stafford throwing one of those heartbreaking interceptions. I can easily see Joe Burrow getting strip sacked because he gets sacked so often. But I can also see this game being played close to the vest. and it might be a clean sheet here for these guys.
Yeah.
So I think there's a reason to think that this may not be a turnover in this game. There is a reason in my mind that I can go lean that way.
Again, with some good odds on that.
Very good odds.
Lily?
I'm thinking Stafford. Stafford
Okay.
will be the one to turn over first.
Turnover. Okay, so there's going to be
Yep.
like an interception or something like that.
Yep.
I actually think there will be an interception in this one as well because
Okay.
they've been fairly clean these playoffs. I think Stafford's thrown only 2 and Burrow's only thrown 1. I might actually have those confused. There's only 2-1 interceptions wise, but both quarterbacks have thrown interceptions in the regular season and are not. They're great quarterbacks. They deserve, all that, but they're not quite like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady where they're throwing like 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions a season. Like these guys do throw interceptions. So I think the pressure might get to them, and we'll see an interception in this game. Will there be a 2-point conversion?
Interesting. I think we're kind of past the time when 2-point conversion was more of a novelty. Now
Right.
everybody goes with 2-point conversion.
Odds are way down.
And I can say with personal, I have my William Hill betting app and so forth, and this is one of the categories that I actually place a bet on. I
Okay.
say there will be a 2-point conversion. There will be attempts, and they will be a conversion, no doubt in my mind.
Which team though?
More than likely, it'll be the team who's actually behind at the time that they have to attempt it. So I'm thinking it'll be the Bengals
Right.
Yeah,
that will do it.
I agree with that.
Right. Yeah. I think there will be one as well. You've got 2 young offensive minded coaches that are all about the analytics now, and analytics more often than not say go for 2. So I think we'll see a couple attempts and one of them will probably be converted. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Will there be a defensive touchdown?
This is probably the rarest of the events in these big games. I'm going to
Yeah.
say no. You probably will not get very good odds if you say no.
No.
If you say
this is-
yes, you will get a lot of some big odds there. But I would say no.
I actually say yes.
Ooh. Ooh, like a fumble.
I think there will be one.
sack
Yeah.
Fumble
That'll
recovery.
be some money
Yeah.
there.
And I think
Yeah.
it'll be the Rams.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I think, yeah, like you said, CJ, if you think no, don't bet on it. It's not worth betting on. if you
Right.
say no. But if
Right.
you like Lily, you can get some good money on that one. You can
Yes.
throw $5 on that one and win some money. All right. Now we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but let's put the money where our mouths are. Which team runs for more yards?
It would be really easy for me to think that it'll be the Bengals because I think they have the better running back in Joe Mixon. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think the Bengals can win this game if they depend on the running game more than the passing game.
Right.
So be that I have that kind of yin and yang here, I think it's still the Bengals. I think the Rams are going to be throwing the ball every time they get it. I think the Bengals are going to try to run it a little bit more than the Rams, and I think that they run for more yards.
I would agree with that. What do you think, Norm?
I actually think it is the Rams.
Really?
Yeah. And kind of what you were saying though is, and I think Mixon is the better running back. I think the Bengals are the better running team. But I do think the Bengals start slow and they have to put all this game on Burrow's arm. And I could also see McVay kind of, getting away from what they should do. The Rams should continue to throw the ball if they're up. I don't know. I think McVay, after what happened in the last Super Bowl, I think he gets extra conservative if they get like a 7 to 10 point lead and just start running the ball too much. And that's where the running yards might come in. But this is a stay away one for me. Stay away prop bet though. I think the Rams, but I don't know if I'm betting that one.
And to your point too, let's say the Rams are up, say 24-6 in late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. They would be smart to just try to run the clock and kill the clock there. So I think that they will probably be running it then, where the Bengals are going to be throwing it all over the yard because they got to come back. So good point by you.
All right, well then let's get to Burrow's going to. I think we're all in agreement. Burrow's got to throw the ball for the Bengals to win this game. Is he going to be throwing the ball for over 72.5 yards? So over under 272 yards for Burrow.
I looked up a stat earlier before the show, and he averages like 282 yards passing per game for this season. So that seems right around his average. And
Yeah.
I would think that for that reason, I would say yes, he'll throw for over 272.
I
I
agree. As
agree.
well. Yep.
Yep.
I think I kind of figured we would all be in agreement on that one.
Yep.
Now, this is, I think, an interesting one. Stafford's over under touchdown totals only 1.5. So 2 touchdowns gets you the over for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, well, you said the word only, and I think I agree with you. I think that one looked to me like too easy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say the over in that one for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we're all in agreement there then. We're taking
Yep.
it over on Stafford. Now this is I think one of my favorite ones. T. Higgins, 5.5 receptions over under on T. Higgins getting 6 or more catches.
Yeah, I think the world was kind of introduced to T. Higgins a couple of games ago when they tried to bottle up Jamar Chase, and T.
Yep.
Higgins emerged as a pretty good receiver there. I'm going to say I'm going to say the Rams are going to try to stifle Jamar Chase, try to limit his touches and so forth. And I think T. Higgins in the middle of the field is going to get about 6 or 7 catches in this game.
I agree.
Well,
What do you think, Norm? I agree.
I agree as well as a completely unbiased T. Higgins fantasy owner. This dude, everyone loves Jamar Chase. They had the connection with LSU, him and Burrow. T. Higgins, you watch him at Clemson, he was pretty damn good too.
He
This
was
dude's like 6'5". The catch radius is the entire field, basically. This dude is very underrated, and I think you're right, CJ. You nailed it. They're gonna try and bottle up Chase. And Higgins is going to have to be one of the go-to guys on this offense, and I think he soars over this number. If this game goes away, I think it's going, and I think I'm kind of gathering we all think this game's going to go the same way. When we get to the picks, we'll see exactly how, but I think he soars over this number. Von Miller gets a sack, yes or no?
I struggle for this one a little bit. I think he gets one. I think because he's more of a speed rusher from the linebacking position, and I think that if the Bengals are going to try to limit Aaron Donald in that fearsome front four, I think Von Miller can somehow figure out a way to get a sack by use of a speed rush technique. So I think yes, he gets 1 sack.
I totally agree with the reasoning too.
Yep. Yeah. I Bengals can't allow as many sacks against the Titans, but they're going to allow some. And I think both him and Donald at least got 1. So I would hit better odds on Von Miller getting 1 than Aaron Donald.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, in my mind.
So if you're taking 1, take the Von Miller odds. And now this is a fun one. More receiving yards, Cooper Kupp or Jamar Chase? Who ends up with more receiving yards?
Well, I made sure I added this one to this list because you're a fantasy guy, Norm. So I know that you probably had your eyes lit up when you read this one here.
Yep.
I love the kind of year that Cooper Kupp had this year, and I think that he's going to get more yards. And again, for the same reason we talked about a few minutes ago, I think the Rams are going to try to bottle up Jamar Chase. I think other guys are going to chip in as far as the yards for the Bengals, and I think Cooper Kupp is a guy who you just simply can't stop. And I think it's Cooper Kupp in this game, more yards.
This is my stay away. I'm not even going there.
I don't disagree with the hesitation there, Lily. This is a real tough one, but a real fun one, because I think we're coming towards the end of our prop bet list here. But I wanted to mention at the top of the list, but I forgot. If you're a casual bettor, or even if you're not, if you just want to enjoy the Super Bowl, especially if your team's not in it, bet on picks, bet on prop bets that'll make the game more fun to watch. Mm-hmm. That's how I usually look at it. I try and play some bets that are going to make me enjoy watching the game more. And this is one where you're going to really enjoy watching the game because you've got both sides, kind of to root for. You're going to be rooting against every time one of the other guy catches the ball and all that.
Yeah.
So I enjoy this one, even though it's a tough one. You nailed it, CJ. I think both of these guys are going to get double teamed by the other squad, and it's going to be tough goings for both of them. But Cooper Kupp's, you could do whatever you want to try and guard this guy. He's gonna get his. How many times have we seen in the last month? It's the end of the game. The Rams need a really big yardage, big first down or yards to get in field goal range. They'd probably go to Cooper Kupp, so we should guard. Why is he 15 yards wide open?
Yeah. I still have that vision of that catch. He went down the field and beat everybody in that Tampa Bay game. Like, why are they not having any safeties deep?
How do you not guard him? Like the dude just
Crazy.
finds a way to get open.
Crazy.
He's a magician right now. He's gonna get his. Cooper Kupp, I would take more yards. Not that I don't think Chase is gonna get his as well, but I think both these guys might be over 100 yards.
You might be right.
All right, so that's the end of that list. Lily, you mentioned it. You think the Rams win the coin toss. I
Yes.
want to throw out my favorites. These are the ones I bet every single year. The actual coin toss, I've bet it, I think, for like 12 straight years now. Tails never fails. I bet tails every single year.
Really?
Tails
Okay.
never fails. It's about 50% though. So shocking, a coin toss. Blue Gatorade is my pick every year as well. You can get about plus 400 on blue Gatorade. What color
Okay.
Gatorade gets dumped on the winning?
I'm saying
color.
orange. I'm saying
Or-
orange this year.
Orange is the favorite this year. I don't know if that's
Is
because
it?
the Bengals are in it or whatnot. I am also
Right.
wearing orange and black. If you guys didn't notice, that's not on purpose. So
Hey, but how about is there a bet as to whether or not the coach gets dumped? I know sometimes these guys try and fail.
I
Right.
think I think you get
So-
really good odds on there is no dump that's shown on TV or something like that. Yeah. So I think clear is like 450 as well if it's just water or clear Gatorade. The national anthem over under Mickey Guyton singing the national anthem. It is set at a minute 35. And for the first time, I think ever in my time betting this, I'm taking the under on that. Usually bet the over, but it's been backfiring on me lately. So I'm going to take the under on that one. And then the last fun bet out there, couldn't pass this one up. Don't know if you can go get it on like your betting app, but maybe just make a side bet with some friends you're watching with it. Will Snoop Dogg smoke during the halftime show?
Okay.
Taking
I
a
love
yes
it.
on that one.
Hey, by the way, I think this might be a halftime show that I'm looking forward to more than probably in a long time. I think it's going to
long
be
time.
epic.
Let's talk about it, guys.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the halftime show because there's so many people that watch this game. Over 100 million people end up tuning this game, and probably half of them don't ever watch a football game during the year and tune in for the commercials and halftime show. And I think this might be one of the best halftime shows ever.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. You got all the legends of hip hop coming together.
Legends.
Dr. Dre, and again, he's the ultimate producer. This one is going to be one for the ages, I believe.
Right.
No
Yeah, I'm
doubt.
so happy that Mary J is included.
Yes.
She's
Mary
my
J.
woman.
Getting
the
the
woman.
credit she deserves, 100%.
Absolutely. It's about time.
And throwing in Kendrick Lamar there as well.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna throw in a more recent hip hop artist, like
Right.
that's the dude that deserves to be with those legends right there.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree.
I can't wait to see. I mean, in LA, like this is probably the most look forward to halftime show for me in a long time.
Yeah, there have been two other ones that I think I've enjoyed a lot in the past. Prince was really good. He put a
Oh
good
my
show
god,
on.
yeah.
And,
And Rain
and
too.
yeah, and Bruno Mars was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was good.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Bruno Mars. He's been featured in two, but he headlined the one, and that dude is one of the best entertainers in the world right now.
Yeah.
We've had some good ones lately. I will say, I think even The Weeknd last year was really good.
Yep.
Katy
Yep.
Perry when she did it was really good. I think we've had, they've been really nailing a lot of these halftime shows lately. I know they kind of went the more boring route with some of the classic rock artists after the mishap there.
Yeah,
with
yeah, we had
Janet Jackson.
We had 137-year-old Mick Jagger, who I love, but he's 137 years old.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
with tape and duct tape and glue and
Yeah.
spit. You know,
The Who,
keeping him
I think,
together.
were in there. I think the Who,
The
were
Who,
the
yep.
Giants Patriots, the 07 one.
Right.
But we're starting to get into the more modern artists again, and I think they couldn't have picked a better show for the Los Angeles halftime show. Well, I guess are you guys big fans of the commercials as well?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
I am, yeah.
definitely. Definitely.
Because I think like that's sometimes too, like, I've talked to like, because obviously we're big football fans here. We're sitting here doing a football gambling show. You get into those sometimes, like, I watch it for the game. I don't watch it for the commercials. Like, just enjoy the Super Bowl kind of like. Yeah, I love the Super Bowl and the commercials. I
mean,
will say I think the
that-
commercials have been lacking lately.
They have.
Isn't that where the Budweiser frog commercials started?
Yes,
with
way back
Super
in the
Bowl?
day, the Bud. Why?
Yes.
That was funny.
The frogs. Oh my God. Doritos always has a good commercial and stuff like that. But yeah,
Right.
there hasn't been that many like real memorable commercials.
Not lately.
Not lately.
I think my favorite of the recent ones was the Cheetos one with the "You Can't Touch This" when you got the Cheetos dust on your
Oh,
fingers.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And it's, sorry, I can't touch this. But yeah, now we'll be looking forward to the halftime show and the commercials. But what everyone's been looking forward to, let's jump into it, guys. It's the actual picks. We're gonna save Lily's lock for last. I think we'll save CJ's pick. I'll get my pick out of the way. Let's put it that way. I've just kind of jumped in for the playoffs, making some of these picks. I'm wearing the orange and black. This is a heart pick, really, for me. I'm going to be taking the Bengals plus I guess I haven't bet on it yet, so I guess I'll be taking the 4. I couldn't get the 4.5, but I'll be taking the Bengals. And simply, like I said before, guys, I like to bet on what makes it a more enjoyable game to watch. That means taking the over. CJ, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth on this one, and I don't think my struggle was necessarily whether or not the Bengals would cover. I think the Bengals will cover. I think the game will go over. My struggle is, will the Bengals win outright?
Oh, you're thinking about taking them straight up.
And I'm thinking about taking them, and I think I will bet the money line and say Bengals are going to upset the Rams in this game.
Ooh.
You heard it here
You'll
first.
let God's ears.
One of my favorite expressions.
All right, Lily, let's get lucky. What's your lock of the season?
Let's win some money.
Bowl.
Lock of the season is the Bengals to cover.
Okay.
I'm not picking them outright. If I'm betting with my head, the Rams are going to win. I would love for the Bengals to win with my heart, betting with my heart, but them to cover for sure. I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
Okay. Comes down to that specialty, which, you know what? The last one,
I actually
weeks
like
ago-
the under. I actually like the under.
Okay.
Look at Norm.
That's a
The
surprise.
under. Who takes the under in the Super Bowl?
I think it's going to be low scoring, honestly. I don't think
Wow.
it's going to be over 48.5. I think it's going to be 24-22, something like that.
I recoiled at your under pick. I will say, but if I was betting with my head, which I mentioned, I'm kind of not. The last time the Rams brought they were still a high-powered offense when they went into that Super Bowl against the Patriots. They scored what, 3 points?
13-3 was the final score of that
13-3
game.
was that final score?
It was probably the worst game I've ever seen in Super Bowl. Worst
yeah.
game.
That was,
Yeah.
that was
Terrible.
a brutal Super Bowl.
Jared Goff. Oh.
Oh,
There's a reason he's in Detroit now. And the Bengals, they're coming in with with no experience into the Super Bowl. So I don't think the under is I think actually that probably is the right pick. I just if I'm watching a Super Bowl, I'm rooting for points. So that's where that pick comes from.
I just think that there's going to be some mistakes in the beginning of the game because
Yeah.
both teams are under so
Slow
much
start.
pressure. That's why
absolutely can see
I'm picking the under.
Yeah,
I can see this
that's
game
good
going
reason.
into halftime 7-3, 10-3.
Mhm.
Actually 10-3. I've got 0-3 in my box score.
Hey, I have some good squares myself. I have some good numbers and so forth. Matter of fact, I run the squares pools every year. I sold 11 sheets. So 1,100 squares is how I sold.
Wow.
$5 per square, two
That's my
$10.
CJ.
Yeah, I run
Do
the
it,
one for
baby.
our office, but that's I didn't sell 11 of them.
The ultimate salesman here. I can sell ice to an Eskimo.
Well, there's our picks, guys, and that does it, I guess. Any final thoughts on Super Bowl 56? Wrapping up the first season of the Smart Gamble, guys.
Yeah, this is going to be, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great finish to the game. Again, I see
yeah.
that 3-point area that Lily mentioned.
Right.
I think Evan McFearless wins it at the gun, maybe like
Give me that.
27-24. I think
Give
that's
me
what's
that.
going
I'd
to,
lose every.
honor-
I'd take a loss in every bet to get a game like that. Maybe not everyone actually, but I'd actually win some if that happened. So,
Yes.
but yeah, guys. I guess for one, thanks to all the viewers and listeners, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you've been tuning in, we've been noticing, we've been seeing the subscribes go up in a little bit. So, but if you haven't, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to go to smartgamble.com. Check us out for all the picks and whatnot. Check us out on social media as well at the Smart Gamble on pretty much every social media. I don't want to say never, but for the off season, we will likely not be doing many episodes, if any at all, but we will try and be posting on social media. So if you want any updates from us, check us out on social media. So thanks to all the viewers and listeners, wherever you're at, and hopefully we won you some money, guys. But also, thank you guys. This has been a lot of fun.
it's been great. It's been a blast.
Yeah. It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure working with both of you.
It really
Love both
has.
of you.
It really has. It was a fun thing. We threw it together. I believe it was week 7 was the first
Week
we
7.
did this.
Right.
And looking forward to next season.
We'll be back and better than ever next year. Trust me,
Right.
guys.
100%.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely bigger and better.
I was gonna say you always say that, but that is 100% true. Definitely,
Yes.
that's another reason to check out. Go bookmark thesmartgamble.com. Go like all the social media pages, and make sure you like and subscribe here on Apple Podcasts and YouTube and Spotify, because it definitely will get bigger and better.
Yep. Thanks
Um,
everyone so much. It's been a
Yep.
pleasure.
And we will talk to you next season.
Next season.
Yes.